Hi, Ashley. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining me, everyone. This is Adam Beebe. I'm a broker here at Latonas.com. We're having the open house to Python-Principal-Games.com. I'm joined by the owner-seller, Ashley Cotter-Carnes. Ashley, if you would, please say hi.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, doing well, and hopefully yourself. Everyone listening, some of you have been here before. This is you know this. This is a go-to-meeting. Ashley and I will be the ones talking. You can definitely ask questions. It's through the chat functionality. If you haven't already done so, use your computer mics or dial in to the access code in the audio. Well, you don't need the audio pin, but the access code that you were provided so you can hear. And I guess if I'm saying that instruction to you, you've already done that. But the most pertinent thing on this thing is if you want questions, use the chat function, and I'll ask them verbatim. It may not be immediately once you ask them, because if it's a revenue question and we're on traffic, I'll hold it till we're on that section. But without further ado, we have right here, which is viewable to anyone. This is on the Latona's listing page. Once you've signed up for your Latona's listing account, which is your email, you're able to access the trailing 12 months of revenue, expenses, unique page views. The blue hyperlinks there, if you click on that, that'll show you the last 12 months. You will be able to, and it's on the listing page where there's a request prospectus button or widget, if you will, and you press that. Call to action. If you press that, I'll be sent an email. I'll make sure that you have an NDA on file and signed. Once we have that, I can email that to you. So, again, the listing on Latona's is going to provide some information. We do have a prospectus, which is going to go in depth a bit more. What we have here, and Ashley, I didn't say this to you yet, we have, as you know, some admin slides that you sent us, and also the history. So those two specific sections will be times where you're going to be doing most of the talking, meaning going over the admin, the back end information. This section is a couple, 3 sides where you go over the past. Here, I can refresh my memory. Since 2009, early 2009 to present day, what has been the history of the site? What functionality have you added? Have you taken off? Have you always monetized, and have you always gotten traffic the same way? Just a brief history of the last 5 or 6 years that the site's been operational. So I'll put myself on mute, and please take it away.
Okay, so I'm sure probably some of the people listening will share this thought with me, but I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And having read The 4-Hour Workweek, I started thinking about how to create a news business. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically a business that runs itself with minimal input from the owner and generates passive income, leaving you free to pursue other businesses or other personal interests. So that thing had been kicking around inside my head for about a year when a friend of mine, who's kind of like a colleague as well through a different company, contacted me and said, hey, I'm making loads of money selling printable games for another company, which I won't name here, but their games suck. We could do way better. So after about 10 minutes thought, I decided to team up with her, and we, for the first 9 months or so, worked together on getting this thing together, and it looked a lot different from this. It was very basic. Neither of us is a designer, and we just basically bootstrapped. We had no money. We just started up from with an eJunkie account, a basic web template, and games that she wrote and I helped to design and market. And then as the money started to come in from sales, which happened pretty quickly, because the competitor I won't name here is the only person really in the market doing this professionally. There's plenty of free printables out there, but there's a lot that don't look very nice. And so if you imagine if you're the mother of a first-time mother, so you're going to be a grandmother, and you're organizing a beautiful baby shower, and you've got amazing decorations and a lovely cake and all the gifts and everything else, but you're handing around printable games that look horrible. You can see there's definitely a need for this kind of thing, printables that actually look really, really nice. So as the money started to come in, we reinvested in new games, in improving the look and feel of the site, and then my friend lost her job, or her husband, sorry, her husband lost her job, and she couldn't dedicate the time to the project that I was hoping she could. So I basically bought her out. I now have 100% ownership. And then over the years, as other businesses took off that I was working on, I reinvested money from them into the site to make it look better, because that was the primary problem. It was an ugly-looking site. The games were better looking than the site, which is never a good thing. So we had the design redone professionally. Actually, it's been done a couple of times. And that's basically the history. The traffic comes from organic sources and through the share a sale affiliate program, where we have, I think, 13 or 1400 affiliates. And we don't do a lot of social marketing. I know you're showing a Facebook there, but that's probably comes under the heading of opportunities, which we could talk about later. But yeah, so basically I'm a webmaster and a journalist, so I do all my own SEO and create content for myself and clients, and so I basically applied my skills to my own project, and it did really well.
Okay, great job. Right, I advanced that just because I know we have a few history slides. You address social media. We can go a little further into that later. What are we looking at right now?
That's our products listed on Amazon. It's a bit unfortunate. There's some very average looking reviews there. I've never managed my Amazon account. In fact, I was one of those I'm pretty much one of those clueless people that doesn't know how to do anything, and so I do the minimum effective dose, as Tim Ferriss talks about. You just get the job done and worry about the details later. And so I contacted Amazon and said, hey, I've got these products, I want to sell them on Amazon, thinking that they would list them alongside things like party decorations, which you think would make sense. But no, they called them software. So they've included our products in the software section, which is a bit unfortunate, because the back end for the Amazon seller account for software is very, very different from your back end for if you're selling physical products. So I've never addressed the fact that some of those games are a bit out of date now. I think I did this back in 2011 or 12, and so people who have left negative reviews probably because they're still looking at games that are maybe a couple of years out of date. So I do need to address that, or the new owner would need to address that. I'll be happy to help. It's really only a question of updating a few games in each package. But like if you're looking at a 40th birthday games pack and the trivia is the wrong year, then that's a bit unfortunate. But Amazon's about 10% of our revenue, so it still comes in every year, and it's nice. I'm glad I did it. It was a one-time job, and it's generated several $1,000s of extra income.
All right, thank you for that. And I know that this is something actually you wanted added. This is, why don't you speak of what we're looking at right here?
Well, I talked earlier about how I wanted our games to be the best looking in the business, and this is one I'm particularly proud of. This is actually just a trivia game. I say just a trivia game. What we did was we went through the history of music and found songs that had colors in them. So, golden years, golden brown, and then you have to match the song to the artist. Now that could be presented any number of ways. You could present it as simple text, which if you went onto a free printable site, that's what you would get. But we paid a professional designer to make this look really cool. And this is really cool. I mean, this is, I think, one of our best looking games. Most of our games are decent. I'd say like 80% to 90% as good as this, but this one is the one in particular that if you have to say which is the one you're most proud of to look at, this one is it. It's amazing. And if you handed that around at any event, like a 50th birthday, someone's retirement party, whatever it is, you wouldn't be ashamed to hand that around to all the guests. It's a beautiful looking game, and so this is primarily the reason I wanted to highlight this, because the buyer of this site also gets unique and complete ownership of our 300 plus games, which are not owned by anybody else. They're not private label. They are our games. We've written them, we designed them, That's huge value intellectual property there. So I wanted to show them how good they look.
Yeah, that is good, and I think I got 50% without guessing right now. So I think yeah, that is a nice looking game. Some more look here as far as in this. Well, this is obviously Amazon. This is a little bit more in depth as far as some of the functionality. You obviously clicked on one of those links in the previous slide, and then it would take you to this. How much of your revenue is out of selling on Amazon? What percentage is from roughly?
I'm trying to think. It was about 20. I think last year's revenue was something like 20-something thousand, 22,000 or 23,000, and of that 2,000 and a little bit was Amazon. So about 8 to 10%, something like that.
Okay, place to grow there. That's good.
I think that could be easily improved. One of the issues we had with Amazon was the cover photographs. That, you know, when you go to an Amazon product, you can zoom in and see the detail of a product. And one of the issues we had with Amazon was when we uploaded those product images, we weren't given very much help as to what was required. And the guy I was working with retired, and so he's no longer there, and so I don't really have a contact there anymore. So if somebody took the time and trouble to manage the Amazon interface a little better, I'm sure you could improve conversions. In fact, I would, one of the first things I would do would be contact Amazon and say, look, we're listed in the wrong category. We shouldn't be under software. We should be listed with party supplies. And I think that would increase revenue quite dramatically.
Okay, good. This is something that anybody, the Wayback Machine Archive.org, anyone has access to that. It shows that the January 2009. Have you done much redesigning of the site? A lot of different, what's been different just look-wise on the site or function-wise?
Okay, so we basically went from a block-built site, and back in the day I didn't have WordPress skills and I didn't have any kind of HTML skills. So we went from a block-built template in the early days, which was ugly, to an HTML template which I paid someone to design and we uploaded. But we didn't like the look and feel. After a while we wanted to change the look and feel, but I didn't want to go through several hundred pages and redo every single one. So I paid somebody from, I don't know if you're familiar with, I can't remember what it was called. There was a website which showed off how cool HTML and CSS was. It was, I forgot what it was called now, but it was basically the same. It's similar to what happens with WordPress when you change themes. What you could do on this site was roll over a different designer's name, and the content stayed the same, but the HTML, CSS changed, and it made the site look totally different. It was amazing. It was fascinating to me, and that's exactly what I needed. I knew I didn't want to rebuild the site again, so I contacted one of the designers that worked on this project, and he redid our site for us.
Okay.
That would have been, I think, maybe in 2012 or 11. And then again, I hired a branding coach, and he wanted the site redone again, and that's the look and feel we have currently.
Okay, yeah, I like the look of it. You have Google Analytics on the site. This is
yes.
The past 12 months. The first thing that strikes me is stable, steady. You know, peaks and valleys. Not that there are any, but you know, busier during certain days or certain parts of the year. You know, does it trail off in summer? I mean, I'm looking though at a pretty consistent graph here.
Okay, you're only looking at a 1 month or a 2 month graph there, I think.
April. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm kind of on autopilot here. I'm sorry. This is
That's
April
okay.
13th to May 13th. Let me. Huh. Okay. Well. Everyone listening, you know, we do break down the last 12 months in uniques and page views. Analytics, you know, we can, once we get a more serious discussion with a specific individual assigned NDA, we can talk about viewer status in Google Analytics. The reason I said that is the GoToMeeting functionality hid the dates there. I downsized it. But right, it's April 13th through May 13th, 2015. So month to month, not month to month, but within this month, it's stable. I would imagine it probably dips slightly in summer just because, or no?
Okay,
Maybe
so
not.
I'll talk about the texture of the traffic. It's fascinating. This is the first website I've ever had that's been really seasonal, and it's a shame you can't see the annual graph because it's like a roller coaster.
We'll get there. No,
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll get there. It's not going to be in Google Analytics, but we did take a screenshot of the Latona screen, so we'll get there. We'll get to
Okay,
the roller
great.
coaster.
So
Yeah.
basically, what you'll see is, and it's fun to do an annual comparison to the previous year too, because you see two different colors and the graph overlaying one another. Well, what happens is we have big seasons from October. So you have Halloween, US Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Then in January, the Super Bowl season starts to kick in, and then Valentine's Day, Mardi Gras, and Oscar night, and then St. Patrick's Day and Easter. Those are our big seasons, and the spikes are crazy. So you see traffic building up to, let's say, Christmas. Suddenly, Christmas Eve, huge spike because everyone's panicking. What are we going to do on Christmas Day? We've got 12 people coming. We've got nothing to do.
Right.
And so they go onto our site to download games to play, and then of course Christmas Day, everyone's actually doing the stuff they're supposed to be doing, so it crashes back down for a day. But every year you see these enormous spikes around the Super Bowl, around Valentine's Day, and around Christmas, and around Thanksgiving, and around Halloween. And so the sales happen in those spike periods. And if anyone listening ends up buying this, those are perfect times to do some split testing when you have a ton of traffic suddenly arriving at the site. Some of our banners that we use on the site have been developed during those periods where we had hundreds or thousands of people a day looking at one page, and we could use analytics to decide what was best to show them. But in the summertime, to answer one of your other questions, in the summertime it does tend to die off. There are no really big seasons apart from American Independence Day and July 4th. But we developed some games which hopefully have smoothed that out a little bit. We have camping and barbecue and what's the other one? Outdoor games. Camping, barbecue. My mind's gone a bit blank. But yeah, we have games which are designed for the summer, and we do get sales all year round of evergreen games like birthday games and baby shower games. But there's no doubt this is a seasonal business.
Okay. And I see you addressed a question there just through talking. Good sources of traffic here as seen. The vast majority is from the U.S. I know the answer. A lot of this is covered in the listing and also the perspective. And the next screen is going to say not really much, and might as well look there as far as nothing much yet and room for improvement. As it relates to social media, have you bought traffic? Are you currently buying traffic? I'm seeing referral and organic. Why don't now going a little bit more into traffic, please?
Okay, so I'm allergic to buying traffic. I think it's a real minefield if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm definitely under the category of people who don't know how to use pay-per-click. And I don't want to throw a ton of money at it learning, and I wouldn't know who to hire to do it for me. So it's just one of those things like social media that I've never really attempted. I just believe in getting free traffic. I think free traffic is the biggest bargain on the web. If you can create a product to sell and get free traffic to see it and sell to them, that's, to me, that's what the internet is about as an entrepreneur. I think there are some people who buy their traffic, and I'm sure they do well, otherwise why would they be doing it? But I've never done that. I've never believed in it. The referrals you're seeing there, I think this is the same period we looked at in the previous slide, so this is only for a couple of months here. The referrals you're seeing there mostly come from our affiliates in the Share a Sale network, but the second biggest referrer is organic search. And as I said, I love the fact that I can create a web property and then just go away and do something else and come back and realize that 1,000 people came yesterday and some of them spent some money. I wouldn't want to buy any more traffic. We get plenty of traffic as it is.
Okay, thank you for that. As far as, and I'm looking here to see what was addressed there. How about some of these sites? What what do you have as far as sessions and such? What do you think is worthwhile in noting this as far as it relates to traffic coming into the site? What would you think is notable here?
So these I think is a breakdown of the referrers. The top one is
Correct.
share a sale. So if you're not familiar with share a sale, what happens is it's kind of similar to Commission Junction. It's a I think what they call it used to call it a hub or something for affiliates. Aggregator, that's the word I was looking for. It's an affiliate aggregator, so you can sign up to share a sale to become an affiliate, and they have thousands of people that have done that, or you can become a merchant, which is what we are. And so what the merchant does is open an account with share a sale and then look for affiliates to come and sell their products for them. And so the clicks from those affiliates don't go direct to our site, they go through what's kind of like a hop link, I guess, through share a sales network, so that the sale can be tracked. And so the referrer you're seeing there, share a sale, that's all the clicks on their links, that's where they're coming from. The next site down is One Stop Birthday Ideas. That's one of our sites. I actually bought that from a third party a few years back and meant to build it up and never got around to it. It is a themed content site about birthday parties, so it seemed like a good fit for our core business, and I thought we could maybe build it up and drive traffic to Python. That's available if anyone's interested. I'm quite happy to negotiate for that. It's not going to be very expensive, I can tell you that. I haven't done anything with it. Scavenger Hunt Fun is actually my ex-partner who started up this project with me. She owns that, so I guess that she's got a link on her site somewhere that's sending traffic. And the others I don't recognize.
Yeah, and they're percentage-wise low. That was fine there. As I'm looking, the Mother's Day looks to be a quantity. I mean, are there and I know we'll get on this when we're looking at the Latona slide, which has the spikes. I mean, Mother's Day, you mentioned this, Mother's Day and St. Patty's Day, there are certain spikes here. There are certain, I mean, I'm looking at a bunch of holidays. Is there an overriding winner as it relates to a party game that is the most popular? What would be the top ones, would you say?
Well, if you were looking at a year, this is I think the same period that we were looking at earlier. If you were looking at the entire year, you'd see Christmas. Our Christmas games pack would be the number one for sure.
This is actually, yeah.
This
is by day and then also same time period.
Yeah, so this is the the last April to May, I think. So
correct.
That's where Mother's Day falls. So that's why it's the top selling product. But Christmas would be the biggest pack that sells. It sells like crazy at Christmas, and it's $20 for 60 games. So it's huge value. It's an easy sell. We sometimes in the last week before Christmas bundle it with the New Year's games as well, so people get 75 games for $20. That seems like a really good price point for people. $20 is about the most people will spend on one pack of printable games. We have tried bundling every single game that we sell together. We've tried slightly bigger packs for higher price points, and sometimes they sell, but I think this market is used to paying zero for printables. They'll pay a premium for the beautiful looking games that we sell, but they won't pay too much of a premium. And I don't think this site would really lend itself to a membership model. I did think about it for a while, but often people are panicking at the last minute looking for something to do at a party that they're organizing, and so that doesn't really fit the model of paying a monthly subscription and getting games every month. It's not really quite for everybody, I wouldn't think.
Sure. It makes kind of a last minute, hey, I need something, and pay and be sent it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't participate in link exchanges. I know you don't have anything like this. These are just naturally occurring links.
Yeah, we've been around for a few years now, and I think in the early days there was a lot more aggressive linking going on in general. I think in the last couple of years since Penguin hit people quite hard, there've been a lot less people trying to get links from us. We haven't tried to build links. It seems to me that the less you do, the more Google likes it these days. So I haven't built any links to the site for 3 years, I don't think.
Okay. these sites that we're looking at, anything that you are linked to, any of these worthwhile to mention? Do you recognize any of them?
Yeah, the top one there is Board Game Beast. That's also my site. Again, that is more of a tenuous link than the birthday games site. It just so happens that I own Board Game Beast. It was actually created before Python Printable Games, and when it's appropriate, I link from there to this site. That one is also available for sale if anyone really wants to take it. But I don't think it's going to create a big drawback for people if that site were to stop linking. It's definitely sending some traffic, but it's not a huge referrer.
Okay. Really, that discussion of previous slides are really more appropriate if someone is purchasing links and such and purchasing traffic. Anyone has access to SEMrush? This is obviously the U.S. slide. Have you seen much as it relates to, I know the traffic is dependent upon, the holidays, the daily or the special occasions, if you will, throughout the year. Is that pretty much what you've seen driving most of the traffic?
Yeah, we've done a couple of promos with other sites. I'm going to plead ignorance. In the days when I was starting Python Printable Games, I hadn't really educated myself on things like sales funnels and that kind of thing. So, I'm still learning about all that sort of stuff. And in all honesty, it didn't interest me that much at the time. And now I'm really getting into e-commerce and learning about copywriting and sales funnels. But at the time, I didn't know any of that. And so, I did occasional things where I'd contact a website owner and say, hey, you're interested in reviewing a couple of my games? And there was also a site called Thomason.com. I don't know, some of the listeners might be familiar with that. They were kind of trying to link bloggers with products not in a paid way. For 2 or 3 years, Thomason was completely free, and I think they just wanted to sort of establish an audience. And so what I could do every couple of months, I would put up a package and say, hey, anyone is interested in reviewing this on their blog? And so a bunch of people would say, yes, please, and get the free games, and then they would write a little review on their blog and link to us. So that created some traffic in the early days. And I think I did some Yahoo Answers as well. Like, what should I do at my 40th birthday on Yahoo Answers? I go in and answer and then link to the site. I think we saw some success with that. That was in the days before Google was a bit more strict about that kind of thing. And since I haven't done any of that for years, it's not really relevant anymore, but at the time I did that. But yeah, it's mostly people doing searches organically for stuff they need to find at the last minute. And the nice thing about having an affiliate program is that they don't find our website at the top of the search results, they might find one of our affiliates at the top of the search results.
Okay. If I add words, you naturally rank or naturally are positioned in Google for printable games and things of that sort. Again, more relevant if you were purchasing traffic. SEMrush, again, that's really more relevant as it relates to when someone's buying it. Now, the aforementioned uniques and page views is next. Huge spike, as you mentioned, during Christmas. That's significant, obviously. Reasonably stable, at least in 2014, May through September. Halloween, when is that?
It's the 31st of October, yeah.
Yeah, so that works. Thanksgiving, you got it built. Yeah, like what you were saying, it was building up latter part or last fourth quarter, if you will, and pretty. The numbers don't lie there. That's pretty significant. So a way of maximizing Christmas and the holiday season, that would definitely help. The pretty much and just to make sure here, yeah, that's pretty much the exact same graph, other than looking at the numbers on the left here. Excellent, great. So you would say, and not overly putting you on the spot, and it may be the traffic moved up and down 2014 to 2013, pretty much the same graph as previous years. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, if you plugged in the same time period and the same scale, you'd see almost identical. And what's interesting is because there are some holidays which don't always fall on the same date, like Easter. So
Hmm.
if you're doing a comparison, if there's an interested party listening and then they actually dig into the analytics and do comparison from one year to the next, you'll see the spike actually appearing at different dates because Easter moves around, and I think Super Bowl sometimes is on a different Sunday, and there's a couple of other holidays that aren't always on the same day. I think Thanksgiving as well. American Thanksgiving is always the third or fourth Thursday. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm not American, but I know that the Thanksgiving is not always on the same date. So when you see one year to the next, sometimes the spike has kind of moved. So it's almost like a 3D effect.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw something in here, which is an interesting point. When I was initially marketing this site privately, I was told, "Oh, don't sell it now because September's when the money starts to come in." Well, you know, I think it's a big advantage that if someone buys it in the summer, because you then have a few months to build up to that holiday period. If there's changes you want to make, if there's tests you want to run to optimize pages or to redesign something, you've got time. What I always had in the first year and the first 2 years, in fact, was I was always running to catch up to the current season. You know, I was always trying to desperately get pages and games created and put up on the site just in time to catch Halloween or whatever. It's way better to have this kind of quieter period to do the stuff you want to do before the big traffic starts in September, October.
Hmm. Okay. This, Ashley has mentioned, this is the admin section. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we got about 7 slides, which is what you sent us of the back end of the site. And what I'm going to do is put myself on mute. When you are ready for me to advance to the next slide, just simply say next, and I'll do that. And then obviously I'll come back on audio. I'll start speaking when we get to the revenue slide. First question always, what's the site built on? And then just explain what we're seeing on the screen. So please take it away.
Okay, so the site is built HTML, CSS. Initially, it was, as I think I've explained earlier, built in a special. I use the word special very carefully here. A company called Site Build It, otherwise known as SiteSell.com and SBI. They offer basically training wheels for people like me who are frustrated by technology but want to get something done online and make money from it. And so back in the day, I really only knew how to use that. I didn't even know HTML at all. So I would be using this block builder software to create the pages step by step, and you add a headline by dragging a block from the left, and you add a text by dragging a block from the left, and the graphics by, yeah, so on. Anyone can use that, and that's what appealed about it. And then when I graduated, if you like, to HTML, I kind of felt comfortable there. So SBI basically tries to make the internet a less scary place for entrepreneurs who are not really comfortable with technology. You know, I wouldn't know what an FTP was if you hit me on the head with it. I don't know how to use cPanel or anything like that. So you'll see from the slides in a minute that it's a lot more simple, and they've done that on purpose. They want the tools not to get in the way of what you want to do. So if this all looks a bit too simplistic, that's the reason. But one of the things that kept me at SBI, even though many of my friends who were more experienced than me were saying, "Oh, you really should move. You know, it's not worth the money." This is the keyword research tool. It's part of it's called their brainstorm function. And so what happens is, if you put in a keyword, in this case printable, you can search vertically like for singular and plurals of that word, and it will bring back these 3 columns of data, which I'll explain in a second. And I know there are other keyword research tools out there. I've tested most of them, but the reason I stay with SiteSell is because this part of SiteSell by far outperforms all the other keyword research tools I've ever used. And so what we do with keyword research, of course, those of you probably done this before, but is look for opportunities. So if I scan down this list, I can see how much demand there is and how much relative supply there is for each of these keywords. And then the third column is a function of those two columns, and the higher the number, the better. So if we wanted to add free printable sheet music, which really wouldn't work for this business, but if we did, that would be an extremely profitable venture. That would be worth the time I invested in. That's what they mean by profitability. It's not about money, it's about the likelihood that you'll rank well for those keywords. So as you can see, printable trivia is a fantastic keyword with over 30,000 demand and only a relative 93 supply. That's something that if you focused some effort on, you would be able to rank for that keyword. And so this is one of the main reasons why I'm still with SiteCell after, I think it's 10 years I've been with SiteCell. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'll explain a little bit more about how it all works. Okay, so this is, for those of you who have used Aweber, you'll be laughing at this, but this is their version. This is kind of like an Aweber Lite. We have something like, I think it's 3,100 subscribers on our mailing list, which is all built through SiteCell. They have their own, what's the word I'm looking for? They have their own version of a mailing list software, which this is how you send your e-zines out to people. So as I told you before, there's this drag and drop functionality. So you literally drag it from your mouse, you go to the left-hand side of the nav bar and drag across a headline, type in what you want it to say, drag text over to the middle, you can put HTML in those boxes, you can drag the graphic into the middle, and that's how you create your newsletters. And I know it seems pretty basic, but it works, and that's pretty much what SBI is like. It's pretty basic, but it works. And if you want to graduate to Aweber, which I just recently did for another project, you can, but you don't have to, because they include everything you need to just get by, which is why I loved it being there. You know, back in 2009, I had never heard of Aweber. I didn't have the money to invest in it, and SBI has all these things together under one roof. So that's the mail out manager. If you'd like to go to the next slide. So when you want to update your HTML files, you literally use this thing called Quick Upload It, and it's like a light version of cPanel. So when you want to upload a file in the cPanel, at least from what I've observed other people doing, you click on a thing or you drag some files to a place on the screen and it uploads them all. This is exactly the same, but it's sort of made in SBI friendly language, so any idiot like me can do it. And you literally just click on browse, and then you navigate on your computer to where your HTML file is and you upload it. And that's how you update the site. It's that simple. You can use Dreamweaver, or I actually never even use Dreamweaver because it's too complicated for me. So I just downloaded a free piece of software to my Mac called Composer.net. And there's Coffee Cup, and there's a few other ones. And honestly, it's not complicated to do. I don't need to do very much. I do this like once every couple of months. I update the home page, and I literally use Quick Upload to replace the file on the server. Next slide, please. So the image library, you see in cPanel, this would be a hugely detailed, tiny list of images all scrolling up into infinity. Here it's made friendly. You can only upload a certain number of files at a time. If you're replacing a file that's already in the server, it warns you before that. I think the maximum image size is 1 megabyte for reasons which SBI, they are a law unto themselves. But back when SBI started in the early 2000s, bandwidth is nothing like it is now, and so their mantra was, you want the site to load fast, so we're reducing your ability to upload big images and slow down the site, which it worked. It still works. If you go online and do a Google search, you'll find people saying now, oh, images are still too big. If your page is too slow to load, then Google will rank it lower, and so on. So they were talking the right language. It's just when you look at it now, it feels basic. But so if you want to put images on your site, you just use this interface. Very easy. Next slide, please. Okay, so this shows you where your pages are listed. Again, I think in cPanel, this would be a gigantic list of files all organized by folder and it blows my mind, cPanel. I don't even know where to look. It's and web designers talk about most wanted response and all user experience, UX, and all that stuff, and then you go and see cPanel, and it's completely overwhelming. You don't know where to look. You don't know what to do because there's like 100 different things to look at. SBI makes everything really simple. So if you want to find your pages, they have a thing called Page Manager, and it's nice and clean, and it's simple, and it's right in the middle of the screen, and you can't miss it, and you can't go wrong. If you are able to click on any of these names, it gives you the option to preview the page so you can see what it looks like if you've forgotten what that page looks like. If you want to delete it, you can. I showed you a couple of slides back, there was a quick upload it. If you want to replace that page, you use quick upload it, and it's as simple as that. And if you're working with their block builder, there's an option there to add a block builder page, but I don't think anyone listening to this will be going down that route. Next slide, please. Okay, so the site builder, this shows you what SBI looks like. As I said, cPanel is a mind-blowing array of little icons and doesn't explain what it does. This is always very, very simple. You can add social icons with Socialize It. You can add Facebook comments with Face It. This is all stuff that's probably too simple for people listening, but it's there. And if you were like me 5 years ago and didn't know the first thing about e-commerce, this would be perfect for you because it really makes life very, very easy. Next slide, please. And so when you log into your SiteSell account, this is what you're going to see. It tells you if you have comments on your site. It tells you if people have tried to contact you, how many subscribers you have. This was taken when we had 3,100 subscribers. The traffic, a quick look at the graph of the traffic in the past few months. You can see the Christmas spike there. I love that Christmas spike. At the top, there's a link to webmail, which is, again, like a really basic version of Hotmail or something, but it works. And links to the keyword research tools are right there. Everything's very easy to find. So if someone was thinking, well, am I going to be able to get on well with this SBI thing? If I buy this website, is it going to be a big learning curve? The simple answer is no. Everything's laid out with question marks. You can just hover over or click on to get help. I'm here. I'll walk you through what you need to know. But what you actually might find is that you prefer this to cPanel. It really is a calm environment. And if you're one of those people that gets overwhelmed by too many options, this is the perfect solution to that. I think that's it, isn't it? Next slide. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The spike, obviously, around Christmas time. And as mentioned, I'm sure it's pretty, what has the revenue been, or here's from 2013 to 2014, would you say the revenue has been about a consistent 22,000? Is it significantly more, significantly less?
We have seen a small drop, but I don't want anyone to have alarm bells ringing when they hear that. I mean, what happened was, for the first 3 years, I poured my energy into this project. Once I'd reached the point where not only had we got all the major seasons covered, all the big holiday seasons we've already talked about, but I also then created stuff for the summer, barbecue and camping, and the other one I still can't remember, and all the birthdays, all the major milestone birthdays were covered. I just thought, I've just done this for 2.5, 3 years, I'm tired, I want to have a break. So I basically stopped working on the site and started bringing the money in. Just basically, I'd go and check my email once every 10 days or so, trying to do the Tim Ferriss model of not being too hands-on with the business and see what happened. And very rarely we get an email from somebody who's either not received their game or is unhappy with their product. I used to get more refunds in the early days when the products were truly horrible. That's not the case anymore. Once in a while you get a fraudster, and you know what happens. They pay for the game, then they report you to PayPal, said the game wasn't what they wanted, or they didn't authorize the payment, and you get a charge back. But it's very rare, very, very rare. The games are good value and they look great, and if people are actually looking for that, they'll be happy with them. They usually are. And so what happened 2 years ago or so, I started a new business which is now the focus of my full-time energy. And so instead of continuing to develop this, or maybe doing social media marketing or whatever else, all the other things we can do these days, I just took a step back and said, I'm done with Python printable games for the time being. And yeah, so that we stopped adding brand new categories. Like, for example, there are still plenty of categories where I could tell the prospective buyers about. Things like kids' birthdays have hardly been touched, and that's a huge market which we really have neglected. And then theme parties. So we have pyro parties, and that's quite popular, and luau party. There are dozens or hundreds of things. You could probably think of 50 off the top of your head right now. You know, vampire, you can think of cowboy. Honestly, there are dozens and dozens we haven't even touched. So the opportunities are there. But if you're not passionate about something, and that's where I found myself 2 years ago or so, I was kind of burnt out with Python printable games. I wasn't passionate anymore. And so by not investing the energy in new products and in pushing the site harder, the growth started to sort of plateau, I guess, and then gradually over time it's gradually declined. But I still think we're at 90% of 2014, and I think 2014 was at 90 or 95% of 2013. So, and you know, people listening to this will realize that during that period, it's been an absolute earthquake. There are some big SEO and e-commerce people out there who would kill to have
10% on a site that you're not working on. That's it. I mean, I would imagine anyone would take that. That point is well heard, yeah, and well taken.
Well, yeah, and not only that, the changes that have happened in Google in that period. Some people have lost 95% of their business.
If you're not working on it, meaning you're not reacting to updates, obviously you've done something right and are providing some good content, and that's why Google's spared you, so to speak. So it's understood.
Mm-hmm.
Good. The expenses have been, and I know that this has to do with the we're counting expenses as what you're paying as a commission, lack of a better, I guess, verbiage, it could be called commission, to the aggregator. And the other expenses are listed in the prospectus as well as on Latona's. Really, the variance, the vast majority of everything is fixed costs, or you do have some content. The content or the new games that you do every year, or roughly, are all those going to be reported in 1 month, or explain that to me a little clearer? I know some of this is like, hey, I bought 4 new games this year, whatever it may be. Are you buying them all on the same or in the same month usually in preparation for the whole year, or explain how you do that?
Okay, it's usually early December. We contact our writer and our designer and say, hey, we need the updated games for next year. So the most urgent one is for New Year's Eve. And what we do for New Year's Eve package, we have the current year. Let's say this year it will be the 2015 news trivia. So we do a 15-question game which is based on big events of this year. So I'm guessing, stuff like the earthquake in Nepal would be a big one for this year. And then we put that together early in December, because sales of that package start in mid to late December. And that one's the first priority. And then after just January 1st, we update the milestone birthday game. So imagine you're turning 60 in 2016. 1956 trivia is going to be relevant to you, not 1955 trivia. So there's the 50s, 60s, 70s are the 3 decades that need to be updated, and 80s for the 30th birthday. So that's 4, plus the year in this year's trivia game. So that's 5. So that's 5 games that have to be updated for the games to be current every year. And so I just do that all in December. I get it done all at once. I contact the writer and the artist once, make a project for all 5 games, get them done, get them laid out, get them switched over when the time's right, and that's it for the year. Now, if anyone who's listening wants to buy this site and is thinking, well, what else could I be doing? Is it going to cost me more? The answer is, of course. But if you're saying, I have an opportunity, like, for example, vampire birthday parties, themed birthday parties, you might want to put together 10 games for a vampire themed birthday. That would be plenty. So that might cost you twice as much as the annual update costs, but then you've got a brand new product category you can market. So investment in content is not necessary, but it's advised if you want to continue growing the business.
Makes sense. A lot of this you've already covered. What I think, if you could start with, how many hours, an hour of your time is worth more than an hour of my time, vice versa, depending on what we're talking about. So kind of let us know what your skill set is, what you brought into the site beginning of 2009, what you currently would say would be applicable and that you can do on the site, and what you do day to day regarding the site. So just go ahead and take that away. When you're done talking about this, let me know so I can advance it. The next slide is, well, it's 3. So site growth, future expectations, and why you're selling. So when you're done talking about one slide, just say next, and I'll advance.
Okay, so I think that the new owner, especially if this is going to be a main focus rather than something that you just take from me and put on autopilot the way I have, the first thing you should do would be to go online and find an entertainment calendar. And there's plenty of free websites that have them. So basically what you're looking for is, if you imagine a year calendar, but with all the major birthdays and all the major holidays marked on it, but then there's plenty of other occasions which don't make the headlines, like, I don't know, National Pizza Day, for example. I'm just thinking of something off the top of my head. Plot your time and say, okay, when are the big holidays? Which day of the year is Easter going to be this year? So you know in advance. And then you make a little calendar and you put in your iCalendar or wherever software you use to remind you to do things a week before. Better remember to switch the homepage so you don't do what I do, which is occasionally I come back to the site to see what's going on. I've forgotten to change, for example, Mother's Day over to July 4th in the banner across the top, which advertises the next upcoming season. So you'd want to make sure that you change over the banners and the menus to reflect the fact that the season's just changed. I sometimes forget to do that. But basically, you can run this business in an hour a month, not a week, a month. Tim Ferriss would be very proud of me. It's not even a 4-hour work week, it's like a 15-minute work week. I basically log in, check my email to make sure there's no customer service requests, and then they usually aren't, frankly, and then I check to make sure that the banners are current and the season is correct and all the offers that we're doing, and then once about every 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, I send a newsletter. If you wanted to be totally Tim Ferriss about it, you could actually outsource the newsletter to be written by somebody else and then just send it. I mean, it really wouldn't take that long. My skills that I brought to the site back in 2009, SEO, content creation. I love writing the games. I actually stopped writing the games a while ago because I was burnt out, and so I just outsourced that. But on the occasion when I write the games, I enjoy it. I like the research. It's fun. Our trivia games are not your standard trivia, which is question answer. We actually dig into the answer, and that will provide some good background on each answer. So it's actually fun. The best trivia games, when you're playing them, the quizmaster reads out the answer and then adds a bit extra. So it's not just who won the World Series in whatever. There's a little bit extra in each answer that make people go, oh, I didn't know that. That's the best thing about our games. And so if you wanted to be a content creator for the games, it's great fun. It is quite tiring, but it's great fun. So really, I don't do a lot at all day to day except cash in the PayPal deposits. And anyone who wanted to treat the business the same way I do, you can honestly run this in 12 hours a year. So next slide. As we've already talked a little bit about the fact that the site hasn't actually grown very much in the last couple of years and the reasons why. As for future expectations, I honestly think that the new owner could be much more involved in running the business. If you wanted to treat this as a business rather than a muse business, which Tim Ferriss talks about, we have over 1,000 affiliates, which are very rarely I interact with. I'm not really done any of the affiliate marketing that you're supposed to do. I just thought, well, this is a good way to get traffic and sales. But if I was being proactive and engaging my affiliates and offering coupons and offering deals and talking to my affiliates, I'm sure we'd get way more exposure. I've talked already about the opportunities we've kind of neglected, like kids' birthdays, theme birthdays. There are probably some lesser occasions like Hanukkah. I'm sorry, no offense to anyone who's Jewish, but when I'm talking about lesser occasions, like Hanukkah, what I mean is, from a party planning perspective, it's lower down our list of priorities, and it never actually made it onto the must-do list. Along with other things, like there's plenty of national holidays that I didn't even bother with, because once the big ones were up, it was running itself, and I just kind of burnt out. As far as expectations go, also Amazon is a huge missed opportunity, really. I mean, I've got the games there. I don't think they're in the right place. They don't look great because I lost my helper. I had this guy who was helping me during the really difficult learning curve. I'd never used FTP, for example, and suddenly they were asking me to use FTP to upload stuff. I had never learned how to change the images, so the images don't look that great, and they really need to be updated. And then the other growth potential is social. We haven't done any social marketing. We've got a Facebook page, and occasionally I remember I'm supposed to post stuff on Facebook because you're supposed to engage people on Facebook. I forgot, so I just don't do it. And then I think in the last 6 months I've posted on Facebook twice. So if you're one of those people that's great at social media, you could be growing this site hugely. It's a nice project because it's a nice looking platform. We have a nice looking product that will perhaps have viral potential on Pinterest. But again, we haven't really done anything with Pinterest. So I think people who are more engaged in growing this business could do really, really well with it. It's just not my thing. Next slide. And the reason I'm selling the site, we have a business I started in 2013, a comic book business, and I basically did the same thing again. I just sat down and started creating content, and the site is doing really, really well because I'm putting all my focus and energy into it, and it's very cash hungry. We have more people offering us comic books than cash to buy it, and if I take the cash from other sources like Python Printable Games, I can accelerate the growth of that business. So that's the reason I'm selling. I think you might still be.
Okay. Yeah. Apologize about that. Ashley just was checking something. It looks like everything's been addressed as it relates to questions and answers. Last call, anyone have any questions? Ashley did a good job proactively answering them. Some of those I weaved into the presentation, but great job. So what I'm going to do is I'm advancing one slide here. Send in your questions if you have them. This is me, Adam Beebe. That's my cell phone number. Leave a voicemail if you get it. Email address, Skype. Please invite me. I add everybody. Ashley's been very responsive and meticulous in the data he's provided. So I do see a question that just came in, and I'll ask that in a moment. But reach out to me directly if you would. If you want a prospectus, you can email me directly, or you can just click the button that's in the listing right there. Brief moment. Let's see. I'm just reading to see if I understand it. Okay. I'm going to read this verbatim. Thank you for the question. The question verbatim. I see this sort of thing selling on Etsy, E-T-S-Y. I know what it is. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Quite a bit.
Decor type printable. Most of the printables that sell on Etsy are stuff like, you have a 7-year-old having a birthday, you want a 7-year-old themed cake toppers and banners and things like that, and that's $20 for a whole package that you download. It's similar, and we did sort of toy with the idea of offering that kind of decor on the site, which would have been a major undertaking, and my wife kind of got a bee in her bonnet about it and started exploring it. And when we realized how much competition there was for those decor items, we decided it wasn't worth the effort. As for whether we've tried Etsy for the printable games, we did, and I think it was a long time ago now. I think it might even have been 4 years ago. At the time, our games weren't as nice as they are now, and we didn't sell very many, and I doubt Etsy is a good platform for our products. I like the fact that our products are really only available on our site and on Amazon. I don't feel that diluting the offer by having them on Etsy as well is going to help very much. And yeah, I find that Etsy, my wife's tried some other stuff on Etsy, and we've had lots of people saying how nice things look and lots of people liking stuff and everything, but very few sales. And I'm not sure if I think Etsy is a platform that's really designed for people to sell stuff. I think it's designed to sell things to crafty people who think they could be business people. I don't think it has a reputation for being a solid marketplace where people actually buy stuff. And you're welcome to prove me wrong. I think you should definitely give it another shot if you buy the site and take our games over there and do an experiment. But when we tried, it wasn't a very successful experiment. So that's the reason.
Okay, fair enough. And I did privately message the person asking that question. Thank you for that. The attendee, please let me know if you have any other questions. As well as anyone else if you have any questions, because we are at the end of the webinar. If anyone listening, obviously, if you have additional questions, be it from what's been presented here and or anything else in the listing, this is how you contact me. So with that, Ashley, you did a great job. I really appreciate you being prepared as you did and sending in the slides. I'll be in touch, Ashley. Great job. And everyone listening, this recording will be up on Latona's within 24 hours, quite possibly, later today. So, Ashley, thank you for your time. I hope you have a great night.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye.